is take a ruler like this or any ruler, find out where the 3/8 is. On mine it's right here. Can you see the measurements? Anyway, line it up with where the needle is and find out what line it is, because some don't actually put the measurements on there, but just find out what it lines up with, and it's the edge of the presser foot for me. Okay. So now we are going to stitch over both sides, and we're going to reverse stitch over these, and that's just to help reinforce these edges, which is where a lot of the tension is going to happen. Okay. All right. My edges didn't match up exactly, so I'm going to line up the 3/8, the presser foot with the shorter of the two fabrics. I'm going to, accidentally pulled the thread out of my machine, of the needle. Let me get that back in there. And whenever you have difficulty threading, like I am, it's always a good idea to go ahead and cut off a little piece to get a nice sharp edge, and it should really make it easier to thread your needle. There we go. It went right in, except that I didn't grab it correctly. There we go. Pull both strings to the back, and let's give that a try again. Okay. Do a couple reverse stitches first, and then I'll go forward. Don't sew over your pins, take them out as you go. Move some of this out of my way. As you're coming to the two hems, make sure you have everything laid out flat. Again, mine's kind of awkward because I'm trying to keep it all in view for you. Hopefully it is. So I can feel where the hems are. So, and I can see this one, but I can feel the other one. It starts about there. So I'm going to go completely across. So once I get to that point, I've gone over both of them. I'm going to reverse stitch to get back across. And then I can continue on. Again, that is just to give it a little bit of extra reinforcement there. To the end, I'm going to reverse stitch a few more. Okay, and all of these extra strings, this isn't critical, but I'm going to cut some of them off just to tidy it up a little bit. And the fabric will start unraveling, so be careful not to pull too much on that. All right, we're going to flip it over and do the second side. Okay, and I can see this, maybe you can, but it's basically, again, the white fabric is a little bit shorter, not as wide as the other one, so instead of lining up this edge right with this presser foot, I'm going to come over just a little bit, just to make sure that I have 3/8 of an inch on both pieces of fabric. And that's an estimation. It doesn't have to be exact. Reverse stitch first, and then go forward. Okay, let me smooth this out. Lining up good. I should be cutting off the tails each time I sew. I see that I did not get those. Again, the second hem ends about here. I can feel that. Then go in reverse. Scissors. Go. All right, cut it off. Then go back to the top, and as I should have been doing all along, we want to cut these tails off as we go. So let me get these, and then get them from the other side. Okay, so now I have, it's kind of taken that form of being having a pouch on one side, and, or actually I guess this goes on the chair, and then that would be holding the laptop, but it's all inside out, remember? So let's see, go back to the instructions. So we've done step 7. So the next one is step 8. Do a tight zigzag stitch on the outside of the straight stitching to prevent the fabric from unraveling. And unraveling is this, is where you can see the little pieces of thread from the fabric itself that are pulling out. We want to stop that from happening, because if it gets over to your stitches, it'll fall apart kind of thing. So now, one of the things that I should have put in here as a note is when you change the settings on your machine, sometimes the tensioning needs to be adjusted as well. So I'm back to needing my piece of scrap fabric. So I'm going to change my machine to do a zigzag stitch. And I'm going to, and this isn't for all machines, so you kind of have to know your machine. Going to your manual can help. It should tell you if this tensioning adjustment is needed. So I'm going to do some stitches. Again, I want to pinch where the stitches end so that it doesn't pull, because I'm trying to look at these stitches to see how well they formed. And if you pull it, you might make them a little bit awkward. So on this side, the stitches look pretty good. These are wide zigzag, and I think I say narrow or a tight zigzag. So I want to change that. I didn't do that yet. So, but I'm going to look at it anyway. Look at those stitches, look good. This isn't too bad, but I am seeing the bottom, the thread from this side is pulling through. So I do think I need to make a little bit of an adjustment. I'm going to make the length of the stitch smaller, so I'm going to go to a 1. My machine goes from 0 to 4. I'm going to change that to a 1. That'll make it much tighter than those stitches. And I am going to, I believe, loosen my tension a little bit. Usually the adjustment's not a lot. On my dial goes from 0 to like 11, so I'm just changing it, just going from 6 to, oh, I went the wrong way. I'm loosen it to 4. And let's see how that looks. Maybe I should have used a different color, because I'm not sure how well you can, I don't think you've been able to see them. All right, this set of stitches here is what I did first, and those are just too big. I want them tighter, so then I did this row. So I can see the stitches look pretty good. They're pulling the fabric a little bit. I think that's okay. What I'm looking for is the thread pulling through, and it has not. This is the back side of the stitches. So that's a good tight stitch versus, whoops, darn it. These ones are the loose ones, or I guess what I'll call loose. These are the tighter ones. So that's the kind of zigzag stitch that I want. Okay. So on the directions, I kind of say to do the whole length, but it's really not necessary for the top part of it, because that's the part that's going to go over the chair, and I'm having you later in the instructions, we're going to sew that curve in, and it's going to eliminate all of these stitches. So for the top that goes over the chair, we do not need to do these zigzags. So now I want to make sure that I know which side it is. Remember, 7 inches is what goes over the chair. So that is this side that goes over the chair. 8 inches is the side that goes over the laptop. So that is this side. And that's the side that I want to do the zigzag stitches on. Okay. And again, that part's not in the instructions. You can do it. It doesn't hurt anything to go ahead and sew that entire length. It's just wasted stitching because it's going to be pulled out. Not pulled out, cut out. We'll see that later. Okay, so now I want to get kind of close to these stitches that I've done before. This isn't washing out too bad. Okay. So I want the zigzag to be on this side of the stitches that I did before. And you still do want to do some a couple of reverse stitches first, and then go forward. Oops, darn it. That was me getting too close to the edge. Huh? Are you pulling? And I am not sewing close enough to my stitches. I'm going to try to move over a little bit. Usually I can get a little closer than that. I'm a little far, but it's not real critical. So I do want to do the zigzags across the 2 hems, so I want to go to at least here. Reverse. Okay. Okay. One thing to remember when you're looking at the top and the bottom, as far as which side goes over the chair, remember to do your measurement. Don't go off of, yeah, I knew I wanted this pattern on the top and this pattern on the bottom, because this is inside out, so it's going to be opposite from what you planned for it to be. Okay, I did my zigzag stitches on this side, so now I'm going to come over and do them along here. So I'm going to flip it over. And just as a backup check, I'm going to make sure this is 8 inches, and it is 8 inches is there. So this is the laptop pocket side. Okay, I'm lining up kind of close. I want the old stitching, the straight stitches that I did, to be close to the left side of my presser foot, or at least the hole that the zigzag gets done in. Let's go backwards a couple stitches. Ah, oh, my thread came out. Okay, so once again, I have to rethread. I think I'm cutting my tails too short, I guess. And I think I'm getting stuck at the very edge of it, and if the fabric seems to stop moving, you can kind of tug a little bit on these tail strings to help make sure it goes through. Again, just a little bit. The machine should be pulling the fabric through, don't pull hard. Thread that's been unraveling is caught in the stitches. Not a big deal, just cleaning it up. Okay, and there we go, reached the end of the... Okay. And this one, the other hem was on this side. So once I got to the end of this hem, I was done. Okay. All right, so that's got my reinforcement.